This is what I get for doing a stream that's not game only stream. I just started Kick. Anyway, like I was saying, rewind, start over, forget everything that just happened the last 10 minutes, all right? So, World of Warcraft. We played, the wife and I played, like I said, we picked up with when they started doing these crazy commercials. So let's look at these commercials. You got Mr. T, Night Elf Mohawk, right? This was such a badass commercial for me, man. Badass commercial. All right. I'm fired. Yeah, I'm fired. The scuff is authentic. It is. But, you know, professional streamer here, you know? All right, let's go here. Hold on.
I'm Mr. T, and this is my Night Elf Mohawk.
Cut, T, there's no such thing as a Night Elf Mohawk.
Shut up, fool! Like I was saying, my Mohawk storms through mighty forests on his frost saber. My
That
Mohawk...
music,
T,
man.
it's a warrior, not a Mohawk.
Well, maybe Mr. T
Love that
hacked the
music.
game and created a Mohawk class. Maybe Mr. T is pretty handy with computers. Had that occurred to you, Mr. Condescending Director? I'm Mr. T, and I'm a Night Elf Mohawk. What's your game?
Yeah, that shit was always good. You got that one. Yeah, I played Night Elf initially. Then I moved to like Draenei. I did play Horde a little bit, but the wife didn't like to play Horde. She doesn't like to play bad guys. So we stuck with Alliance. Then you had Ozzy Osbourne.
I'm Ozzy Osbourne, and I'm the Prince of Darkness.
Hey, Fast, how's it going, man?
Cut, the Lich King is the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy.
Well, maybe you're the one who's been riding a crazy train, but I've been the Prince of Darkness since 1979.
There can be only one Prince of Darkness.
World of Warcraft. Try it
He
for
was
free at
always sharing
Warcraft.
there at the end. I just noticed that. Well, you know what? Let's start it. And let's see if this is the first one.
Some smack-talking fool's been saying Mr. T can't change the World of Warcraft. He ain't no computer hacker. Well, answer me this, suckers. How do you explain the Mohawk grenade? Yeah, wherever I go, I'm making Warcraft look good. So
Yeah, I
don't
was
give me
trying to
no
look for
back
hold
talk.
on. Let's see.
Try World of Warcraft free at warcraft.com.
That's fine.
Find a Night Elf
Here's
Mohawk.
Chuck Norris, man.
Chuck Norris,
Chuck Norris
is
could
a
be
hunter.
anything.
But Chuck Norris does not hunt. Hunting would imply the possibility of failure. There are 10 million people in the World of Warcraft because Chuck Norris allows them to live.
I'm Chuck Norris, and I approve this game.
World of Warcraft. Try it free
Man, that's
at
when Chuck Norris still
warcraft.com.
looked like Walker, Texas Ranger. Now he's old, man. What's this one? They don't do shit like this anymore. Yeah, this is back when they were like at their peak. They had like 12 million players going on at that time. That's how peak this was. It was ridiculous.
It's not easy being an orc.
Okay. Who is that chick? She looks very familiar. Who is she? Do you guys know? Yeah, you're right. Power, they went really hard. Like I said, it was during their peak of like 12 million players. And then they started drinking breast milk and someone complained about the frat culture. Look, Audrey Plaza, that was it. Look, you can fix the internal issues like the drinking of the breast milk. The frat culture, I don't think is an issue. Look, that was just guys being guys. You bring in women, like I said, well, not like I said, like Asmongold says, two groups of people in this world ruin everything. Right? Two people. Karens and incels. And the incels made the game. So they didn't ruin it. The Karens did. So, I mean, it's, you could have fixed the internal issues with like the breast milk without changing the game overall. The problem is they brought in so many people, they changed the game.
My friends used to make jokes like,
It's the ugliest orc
the
I've
other
ever
white
seen.
meat, or put an orc in it. I told them I'd throw them into the depths of rage fire chasm.
She's so
Thought I
hot
was
though.
bluffing.
She could throw me into the fires.
I've never faked an orc chasm in my life.
Oh my God. They would never do that today. Never do that today. That joke would be, look, they took out the word bitch in the game when I think Garage called Sylvanas a bitch. They took out the spit emote. They are so non-edgy nowadays, they would never do this stuff. Yeah, they changed the in-game paintings of women with fruit.
World of Warcraft. Try it for free at warcraft.com.
And then they
I'm Aubrey
changed,
Plaza
so
now.
I don't have it up in front of me, but you had the Dragonflight, and there were three of, was it three of the women? You had damn it, I can't remember, Ursa or Yerso, however you pronounce her name. You had what was the fire dragon girl's name again? I can't remember. Oh fuck me, my brain's not working. Anyway, you had the three I think it was three aspects. Were three aspects women, or was it only two? I know they were sisters, because you had Deathwing, you had Nordamu, I think it is, something like that. You had Malygos. Yeah, it was just two, Ursa and fuck, it starts with an A and I can't remember her name. Alexstrasza. There you go. So they had similar models and outfits. Sylvanas also kind of shared this model and outfit, and they were hot. They were badass women. They were hot. No, my brain, the way it works, Captain, is if I stop doing it for a while, it dumps. It dumps. It just like cleans the memory, right? So I have to recall some of this stuff. So you had Alexstrasza, you had Ursa, who's she of the Dreamin', and I'm assuming I'm saying it correctly. With names, I may never be pronunciating it correctly or not seeing it. But they were hot, but they were badass. But nowadays they changed the outfits, they changed their models, and they're not as hot anymore. I mean, they're okay, but they're not as hot anymore.
I'm an orc. What's your game?
Hold on.
It's your game.
See, they would never do that again today. Holy shit.
My name is Vern Troyer. I live in Hollywood,
These
California.
commercials are low
and I'm a
res,
mage.
unfortunately. Yeah, the guy who played Me unfortunately died.
Master of the arcane. There are 9 million players in the World of Warcraft. It's huge, like my mage.
You know, what's sad though is they've become so safe and so I guess virtue signaling that they would never do this commercial. And here's why they would never do this commercial. They picked what do we call them, midgets, little people, short person, I don't know what the politically correct term is, but they would never choose someone like him to do this commercial again, because people would say a dwarf, there you go, they would say it plays into a stereotype. They would never do that. They were like, oh my god, why did the dwarf have to be the gnome? Why can't he be a normal person? He doesn't have to be a dwarf in the game. You know, that's what, ableist, I guess they would call it. I just don't see them doing that today. They lost their edge. They've lost their edge. Sanitation is killing everything. Yeah, you're right. It is. All right, so we're gonna get into this. So look, just up front, I have an issue with this character here, Faye Run. I think her name is Faye Run Lothar. So here's the issue I have. We know throughout media, both in video games and movies and TV shows, there's been for years this whole agenda to, you know, race swap everything, gender swap everything. And so Lothar is a family line. So I don't really necessarily care that it's a woman per se, because, you know, there could be women obviously in the family, and maybe she's one of the ones that wanted to go and fight for her family. I'm cool with that. The only reason I can see people bringing a point towards it is that they do this shit all the time now. So people are just automatically assuming you're doing it for virtue points, right? Making a woman, you know, girl boss, right? We saw this with Star Wars. We see this with WoW. We even saw this with Avengers, man. Every character, the original Avengers that they wanted to replace, it ended up being with a female character. It fits a stereotype. South Park hit on it. Put a chick in it, make her gay. Except in this part, it was put a chick in it, make her black, and then make her gay. And look, you look at that haircut, you tell me she's not a lesbian, right? She may or may not be in game. I don't know. But that's the vibe that it kind of gives off. And lame. Yep. Put a chick in her, make her gay, make her lame. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've given up a while longer. So Max, just backstory. The wife and I played WoW back in 2005. We played it all the way up through Cataclysm, and then I came back Well, no, she stopped at Cataclysm. I continued playing through, I think it was Battle for Azeroth, where you had the garrisons. But she and I, we like raided all the time. We raided Karazhan, we raided Zul's, we raided Zulaman, we raided ICC, Uldawar, Naxxramas. I mean, we raided together. She was a enhancement shaman / resto shaman. I was a resto druid. We raided all the time. I continued raiding up until Battle for Azeroth. I ended up being a monk brewmaster tank, and we did normal, hard, and then we started doing I want to say it was mythic at that time, whatever the highest level was. It was the 3rd stage. And the problem there was I was doing it for fun. I wanted to be part of a group, you know, just the boys group, you know, one that you hung out with. You didn't care how well you did. It was just for the fun, right? But the problem ended up being is I guess they were more hardcore than I thought. And so that group ended up falling apart. And at that point I was kind of like, okay, screw it. I didn't want to go through building up another group again and all that stuff. Yeah, I rated my wife all the time. So that's kind of when I stopped playing. I did come back for Legion because I love that storytelling. I love Illidan. I love all of that. The wife and I, we leveled Demon Hunters, and we kind of played through that, but we didn't finish that either. Retail WoW is just not what it used to be. It's just not what it used to be. So I'm not big on this character. Like I was saying, my biggest issue, like I said, I feel like it's a virtue signal character. And it's even made more so by the fact that she's missing a freaking arm and her shield is just floating there. Give her a robotic arm. Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker had a robotic arm. Make her the bionic woman. Why does she just got to have an open space like that missing an arm? I don't know too many disabled people, honestly, but the ones I do know, I've heard them say over and over again, they don't want to be disabled in the game. They don't need to see representation. They're playing a game to escape the real world. They just want to play a game. I've had one guy be like, I've heard him say, oh, I'm going to be this guy because I get to run. Because, you know, unlike real life. You know, I mean, they make jokes about it because they want to do things in games they can't do in real life. Corpos ruin stuff. They do, Captain. The biggest problem with pushing highest level content was that people began to realize that it's a lot of busy work for raids that require you to need weak Rs. Now, yes, back then it wasn't that bad. Back then, I think the most amount of mods I had was a DPS meter, and I also had like one of the boss mods. I can't remember what it's called. But I never installed or ran weak ors. If that might have been installed by default with the boss mods, maybe. But I didn't have a ton of add-ons. But nowadays, you need that. Now, I think World of Warcraft is realizing Fat Boss. Yeah, there were a couple of them at the time. Deadly Boss mods. You had Fat Boss. But now they're rolling back some of that. I think they're realizing that a lot of the add-ons are becoming too problematic because they're mandatory, and so they're trying to adjust things, which is good. I do think it's good. When the wife and I tried playing recently, during Dragonflight, we were leveling, but by the time we got to Stormwind, I was like, okay, fuck, what do we want to do? Which expansion do we want to play through? It was, I don't know. It didn't keep me. It didn't pull me in. I've lost the awe that I had when we first played. You know, we were in Kalimdor and we would travel all the way over to the Eastern Kingdoms. I think that's the right path. And we would go through Horde territory into the Barrens. There'd be like those 2 guards there, and we're running on foot because we didn't have a mount. And we had to be very careful because, you know, the guards would aggro us because we were so low level, and they were like elite level 50 or 60 or whatever they were. And they would come and they would just wipe the floor with us. And we're praying each time we make that run that we finally get through, you know? Yeah, but it's lost its you know, I don't know. You can't replay those and have the same feeling. Sorry about that. I had them on the deck for a few minutes. Bring out Chi-Chi. She's here. Talk about my World of Warcraft days. Did they ruin WoW too? WoW's been on a slow decline, Snivy, unfortunately. We don't have, it's not like it was in, I think Wrath of the Lich King was probably the last best expansion. Although Battle for Azeroth had the opportunity, I think that was that the one? Where's the one where they went back in time and you had like the Iron Horde? Is that Battle for Azeroth? I don't know. That was a cool expansion. They just ruined it. They ruined it. because we actually returned to our roots of Horde versus Alliance. Yes, that's what was so appealing of Battle for Azeroth. And Legion was really good as well. All right, so we've established I hate this virtue signaling DEI character. We all know why she's in there, girl boss mode, all that stuff. In the old days, this would have been two men duking it out, but it's not. So all right, let's go and finish watching this real quick. You know, suffer through it. What I find funny is look at this. This is not even connected, but I give them some leeway here, right? Because this is an in-game. This is like using the in-game engine. It's not a carefully crafted, pre-rendered, cutscene. Yeah, look, I don't want to say all the time it's DEI just because there's a woman or a black person in the game, but nowadays there's almost always that behind it. Almost always. Well, the problem, Turtle, is they've done it so much, people will naturally assume that this is why they're doing it. Regardless. I mean, the problem they've done to themselves here is they've played into the stereotype. She's disabled. She's got the butch haircut. That's the stereotype here, right? Put a chick in it, make her black, make her lesbian, make her disabled. And, they played in a stereotype. I don't know if she's actually a lesbian in the game. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, and that's another part. The way they make these women nowadays, it's very androgynous. Is that the right word? Androgynous. So androgynous. There you go. Androgynous. So you don't know if it's a woman or a guy just from first glance.
This Dinar fought to save all of Azeroth. He sold us out. So
they would, Turtle, but I let that slide. I like playing women in video games. I like to play as women in video games. All of my World of Warcraft characters were female, right? So it's not that it's a woman specifically. It's what they've done to her in the plot armor they give her. You know what I mean? It's like with Sylvanas, right? Or Sylvanas. Yeah, Sylvanas. Damn, my southern coming out there. Sylvanas. They should have had Tyrande, if I'm saying her name right, and I'm probably not. That should have been the death of Sylvanas. When she went like full super Elune god mode and mopped the floor with Sylvanas, that should have been the end of her. For everything she did. But no, they had to redeem her, save her, be like, oh, this wasn't really her. A part of her soul was in Frostmourne, and she was only half of herself. And I'm like, dudes, guys, you're just trying to save a hot chick, which on one hand, I totally get. I can understand. But she burned down the freaking world tree, man. That pissed me the fuck off. And at that point, I hate that character, and she can burn in hell for all I care. Yes, Savannah's being excused for everything she did, man. They're dancing. They're dancing, sniving. That's what they're doing.
Alliance and Horde could wage war in Karzalgar.
Well, that's not just for women anymore, Captain. That's for men too. They don't make villains to be bad guys anymore. They make villains to be misunderstood.
You'll never understand.
The facial expressions, man, with the in-game engine is hilarious. I let it go because I understand, but it's so hilarious. And then she shield slams him, or her, excuse me, misgendered that person there, with no arm. Like I said, give her a mechanical arm, man. Make it believable. Give her a mechanical arm. This is like with the Khadgar being in a wheelchair bullshit. He's the most powerful mage in the universe, and you tell me he can't heal himself? He can't somehow use magic to have him up and walking? Do you know how many people in a wheelchair would give anything to be up and walking again? Sage in Warcraft 3 remake, they gender swapped all heroes like Illidan and no. If you mean now, yeah, women are taking a big forefront, which they always had been. You had Jaina. Jaina was like up until Khadgar, one of the most powerful mages in the world. Problem is they neutered her. Like when Garrosh destroyed Theramore with the mana bomb, and he killed Ronan, who was one of my favorite mage characters and was created in the book. Great book, by the way. It was the War of the Ancient books. Great story. But when Garrosh destroyed Theramore, they should have let Jaina go and destroy or severely damage Orgrimmar. It should have been a tick for tack, but they didn't. They had what's his name? The blue the blue Caligos, I think it was the blue dragon, who ended up becoming the aspect in place of Malagos. I think it was Caligos. End up stopping her because they had like a little love fling going on. I don't know if they still do, but at that time they did. And so he talked her down. Yes, she should have. War of Warcraft. One side nukes one side, the other side's going to nuke the other side. Why do sexy women always get away with everything? My wife can get away with anything and everything because she's sexy and she gives it to me. That's why women get away with a lot of stuff. And you know what? I'm okay with that for the most part. But in video games, you know, don't prop them up with plot armor. Make them act like what women would in this world. You know, I'm okay with women fighting, being badass. Just where's the men? Don't put them in place of the men. Have it kind of mixed. You know what I mean? And before you had guys like Varian, you had Thrall, you had Bane, and you had Jaina. But now it's just nothing but a bunch of Jainas. At least up in the forefront. It's what it seems like to me. I could be wrong because I don't play World of Warcraft anymore now. And there's a reason for that. Matter of fact, during Legion, she was the leader of the Kirin Tor and Dalaran's ruler, and she ups and yes. I mean, she was in a prominent position. She was like one of the mainstay faces of the Alliance. Like I said, she should have been able to just demolish Orgrimmar. They should still be rebuilding it. But no, they didn't let that happen. You know what they did let happen? And the reason I keep mentioning this part is it fucking pisses me off. I was a night elf. They burned down the freaking World Tree, man. That pissed me the fuck off. Not gonna lie.
The Red Dawn will rise again.
No!
Okay, here's what is funny. In almost any media over the last 30, 40, 50 years, up until recent media, these roles would have been reversed. It would have been two guys fighting, and this guy in the middle here would have been a woman stopping them. It would have been a woman stopping them. Or it could have been another guy, but a lot of times I've seen a woman come in between two men fighting. Yeah, he's Trollbane. Yeah, exactly. And Trollbane has a big history. I'm assuming this is over in the Highlands, right? Arathi Highlands, Max, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I don't remember all of the story around this area. I do know that Stormguard or whatever was part of the Alliance in the old days, but they're not now because Stormguard kind of got destroyed. I think by the trolls, something like that. Did they get destroyed by the trolls? I think this was like during the Troll Wars, right? Or was this during the first invasion of the Horde? I can't remember. As I've said, I've read all the books, but if I put it down and forget about it and go away from it, my brain just dumps all that information. It frees up memory space. So I don't know why they're doing here. I know they went back to the Arathi Highlands in this area during the recent expansion. So I don't know exactly what's going on here. So there is some context missing that I will give leeway for, but it just doesn't look good. Yeah, the 86th Storm. Yeah, they did. First invasion, the Horde did sack Stormwind, and I think at that point, Varian was a kid, and him and this lady's Feyran Lothar's ancestor Lothar, they went to Lordaeron, I believe it was. That's where we met, Arthas and stuff for the first time. So, but yeah, so good stories, man. The whole backstory of World of Warcraft is fucking awesome, man. The stories are awesome, but they just can't do that anymore. Yeah, didn't Stormguard create the Alliance to begin with, them and Lordaeron? After that happened, didn't I create the Alliance? Because I think maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, okay, see, there you go.
Not make her a martyr. Our history will read. Feyran.
Yeah, but it was written by people, Captain, that beforehand it was really great. But now no. The writing suffers.
True daughter of the Arathi. Allowed Marin to live without her title and name.
That face, man. That face. Vanished. Oh my God. Is this like a grandma, by the way? Is she like really old? She looks like it. She looks like a grandma.
From the Highlands forever.
Yeah, they got the helps to help out. They taught the mages, they taught the people of Stormguard magic for the first time, right? And there was a whole family line that the elves pledged to be able to help throughout history, right? Can't remember. Was Lothar the family or was it someone else? Which family was it they pledged to? I can't remember. But yeah, the Troll Wars. That involved what the before breast milk scandal. I do think that ruined a lot. Turtle. I do think it did. I think the reaction to that was so bad from both publicity standpoint and you're thinking of Jaina's Master's bloodline. Okay, that may be it. I think they overreacted internally with that. I really do. They should have just fired whoever did it, and I'm fine with fixing the issues inside for stuff like that to keep it from happening. But they didn't need to change the way they approached the game. But they did. They got safe. They lost their edge. I mean, we saw the commercials. We saw how edgy they were, man. Aubrey Plaza, whatever her name is, made an orgasm joke. Really? And tell me they would do that today? No, they would not do that today.
This is not over.
Oh, the Cosby Room thing. I forgot about that. All right, so reading through the comments, you got DI Warcraft, Black Lesbian Saves the Day again. Someone tagged Aspen because it's never coming back, is it? No, I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. So let's look at the post engagements here because the one thing I did like, this is funny, haha funny, but I will admit the comparison is a little fake because this is a different type of cutscene. I don't think this is using the same game engine here that they're using here. It's a little different, almost like apples to oranges, right? But it is fun. Because this has a lot better choreography, better feel to it, and that's pretty much what the other cutscene felt like. Yeah, it does not work, and so that's the downside. One's cinematic, one's a more in-game cutscene. You do make a point, Captain. It could be they care of how much they care, but I also wonder if cost had anything to do with it. Right, let's go back to this one. Look at post engagements here because this. Now, again, this is a cutscene, but remember when World of Warcraft looked like this, and this. What they're gonna hear is look how cool and badass this looks. This is like a badass look. This is like, oh shit, son. And then you get this jank down here, and you're like, where's the badass at? What's getting me pumped? Nothing's getting me pumped up. You just don't think they have the talent anymore, Max? Maybe not. And who was the guy they brought back for the story? What was his name? Chris something, right? He was Chris Metzen. There you go. Yeah. And they brought back Chris Metzen. I believe there was an interview where he talked about how one of the things he's had to get used to is how it's a democracy essentially there now. Like he can't just run things the way he did things previously when it comes to the story and stuff. Like, other people have to approve of it. And so my fear is because of that, he's not going to be able to do things the way he previously did things. So he may either be delayed or kept from making the story as badass as he used to. Yeah, he's there, I think, as PR to try to get people to come back. You know what they should have done? What they should have done at some point is they should have did time travel in the game where they went back to Arthas and they let Arthas destroy the city. They convinced Jaina and Uther. Was it Uther? Yeah, Uther to take Stratholme together. Don't let Arthas go down the side of the dark path, because in my opinion, Arthas did nothing wrong. He did what he was supposed to do there. He made the hard decision. Jaina was a bitch. His mentor, Uther was a bitch. They couldn't make the hard decision. Yeah, that was the hardest choice he had to make, and his friends let him down. I mean, just think how much that's got to do to a guy. The future king makes a hard choice, even though he knows it's his people. But he knows if he doesn't do this, more people will die. And his mentor couldn't see that. Jaina couldn't see it. In my opinion, that's bad writing. In my opinion, that's bad storytelling. Because the obvious real choice is right there in front of your face. The best solution there would them to be like, look, we don't want to do it. We understand that we have to. It's a hard choice. and show how much they hate doing it. I'm a King Arthur fan. You damn right I'm a King Arthur fan. I love King Arthur, man. And she's like, I can't stand by you in this. And she turns and walks away. You know, my wife wouldn't have done that. She would have understood. She may not have liked it, but she would have understood. Now, would she have taken part in it? Maybe, maybe not. But she would have understood. She wouldn't have walked away from me. She wouldn't have turned her back on me. That's what a good woman would be. She would be supportive. She'd understand. And she'd be smart enough to realize the position that we're in. You would have had Uther join Arthas in the Purge, but have Jaina woman out. I wouldn't mind having Jaina woman out as long as she didn't turn her back on him. Right? If she didn't want to take place in the slaughter, I can understand. But to not understand why it needed to be done, that's just bullshit. Jaina is lawful good, but can't kill. Oh, she can, and she has. But I understand the point you're making. But you have to also understand sometimes there's things where, you know, it's not lawful, but it's also not illegal. You have to do things for the betterment of the kingdom. And if she can't make that decision, she would have been a horrible queen and a horrible leader. At some point, you have to make a tough decision. And she failed in that moment to make a tough decision. But here's the thing, Turtle. When it happened to her own city, to her own civilians, what was she about to do? She's about to destroy and flood all of Orgrimmar. So then you have a couple of people say, so cool how every game is bad now and has black lesbians. Again, I don't know if she's a lesbian, but, you know, I think this is the biggest thing right here. Warcraft used to be too ugly buff, I'm not saying that word, guys, fighting, and now it's annoying, skinny women. I think this says a lot right here. This is what you used to have. I think this was the Mr. Pandaria trailer right here, I think it was. But this is what Warcraft used to be. You used to have Varian jumping down into the hordes of demons to save the entire Alliance airships, you know, army, right? Trying to distract those demons. He loses his life there so that all of those airships can get away. You don't have that now. Varian went out like a boss. He was a badass guy that look, when you see there's been like memes about this, like little video clips I've seen on YouTube about, you know, women thinking about, you know, how their life would end. It would be with family and they'd be all happy and whatnot. And then guys, when they're thinking about how they're going to go out, they're like that guy in a knight's armor and they're just fighting. Or it was a Warcraft 40K, not Warcraft, Warhammer 40K type clip where they're like on the pile of dead bodies and they're just shooting away with that banner right behind them. You have the cool badass music in the background. Like, this is how men want to go out. I mean, Anduin became a bitch. He became a bitch. I don't know if he's changed in the war within, but he's nothing like his father. And we needed that. We needed someone like his father. The war within stories have been hyper trash. The men are bitch made and either apologize for nothing or get corrupted or tricked and have to be put down and replaced by the women. Even the one character that sacrifices himself is immediately devalued. It's awful. So I'm assuming the one character they're talking about here that sacrifices himself is Khadgar, and he's put in a wheelchair. I'm assuming that's what they mean. But this is the problem you have with modern storytelling. They want to uplift women, which I'm okay with. If you want to make women have more of an active role, I'm okay with that. But you cannot do that at the sake of the men in the story. And that's how they seem to want to do it. They don't want to make strong women. They want to make men with a woman's head on their body, essentially. That's it. They want to make women act like men, and you can't do that. You want to be, okay, you're going to be real. You wanted Bane to be killed by Magatha Grim Totem and join Garrosh in his inner circle? Wasn't Bane killed? It was Karn. It was Karn. Was it Karn or Karn? I don't know how you pronounce his name. It was Bane's father that was killed by Garrosh, right? Poison. Had poison on the weapon. Even though Garrosh was getting his ass kicked. I think Bane's the kid. Yeah. By accident, yeah. Garrosh was getting his ass kicked. And then it says, this is the most attention WoW has had since they stole breast milk. With Nazmagul said, which is pretty correct. That's right. Bane was his son, but he is too weak of a leader. And yeah, again, you have that with the men in World of Warcraft now. You have Anduin, you have with Bane, they're too weak. But then you have Sylvanas go around just killing motherfuckers left and right, burning entire trees, killing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Okay, what did they do to Thrall? What did they do to Thrall? It's been a while since I've seen Thrall. What have they done to him? I know they made him a shaman and they made him like a temporary aspect when they were trying to defeat Deathwing. But they shaved his head and stuff. Now he's got hair again, right? Are the orcs? Yeah, who leads the orcs now? Is it Thrall again? Is he back as the leader? Sylvanas shares power with Arthas' sister. Oh, that's right, because Arthas' sister came back. She was like undead. That was kind of a disappointment in the way they did that. When she first came back, I was like, oh shit. Because I read where she first came back in a book outside of the game. And she was going up against Sylvanas. Actually, you still play the game, man? Because you're like all up in it. I've thought about trying to get back to play the game again, only because it's a game I can play with my wife. Not because I think the game is great, but, you know, something to play with a wife. You remembering everything between 2017 and 2019? Okay, so we're still a few years out. World of Warcraft is a few patches away from becoming a Mexican novella. What? This is what happens when you allow women to be gaming developers. Okay. Okay, well, I don't fully agree with that. It depends on the person themselves, right? Men can be just as bad. That's why, you know, Asmongold says two groups. One's generally a woman, one's generally a guy. It could be both. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the okay. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we used to have. Elf and fighting the troll, right? Oh, this is Metzen. Oh, this is a draft by Metzen. Oh, that's a cool draw, man. I didn't know he's got that skill. That's cool. And this is what we get now. It's I think it's a self-insert, Turtle. I think this is one of the developers at World of Warcraft. I think this is them in fat orc form, or not fat, but muscular orc form. I think this is one of them. Tumblr artists and deviant artists. Yeah, and you know, you don't see that in just games. You see that in animation too. Look at some of the cartoons like on Cartoon Network and stuff like that, man. The animation looks horrible. And then we got one more here. Oh my word, I might die laughing. I haven't so much as glanced at World of Warcraft in decades, but it's hilarious to know that it still looks, moves, and sounds worse than games that released around it back in 2004. See, World of Warcraft, man, they had the secret sauce. They figured it out. And for whatever reason, they decided they didn't want to continue using the secret recipe that they had figured out for the longest time. It'd be like if Colonel Sanders at KFC decided to all of a sudden take his, you know, secret recipe and change everything. And all of a sudden do it a completely different way. Yeah, we have to go back, Marty. Exactly. Back to the future. Look, there's a lot of improvements that they made. Don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of changes that they didn't need to make. It's because the OG Blizzard left, and they brought in a bunch of people that, or they neutered any OG Blizzard people that's still there. Then someone else says, yeah, this whole quest line is embarrassingly toothless and all around pathetic. I'm not even remotely shocked that this is how people outside of WoW circles view the game. The narrative has a serious lack of bite problem right now, and Blizzard needed to stop being so afraid. That last statement right there, I think, is the biggest issue World of Warcraft has now. That's what it's become. Like I said, when we saw those commercials, man, they made jokes in those commercials they would never do today. They've lost their edge. As I said earlier, when they removed Garash's calling Sylvanas a bitch in one of the quest lines, they removed that. I'm like, really?